Bradford City continue their 2024-25 league campaign with an away clash against Paul Cook's at Chesterfield FC, and in today's video you're going to find out how both teams have got on so far this season, what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 100 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Now my team Bradford City, we currently sit third in the League 2 table. After 43 matches we've got 21 wins, 11 draws and 11 defeats, scoring 59 goals and also conceding 40. That leaves us on a positive 19 goal difference and 74 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a draw, a loss, a win, a loss and a draw, so not great form for us at this moment in time. Just 5 points picked up out of our last possible 15 available. Them last couple of games then being a 1-1 draw at home to Notts County. Not really much quality in the game between the two sides. Obviously David McGoldrick scores an absolute worldie after we opened the scoring 8 minutes into the second half through Kieran Kelly's first league goal for the football club nearly 2.5 years on since joining it from Bohemians. A point on the balance of play probably was a fair result, but we need to start winning our home games again. We also had a very disappointing 5-4 defeat away at Swindon, probably the craziest football match I've ever seen and maybe ever will see. 2-0 up, absolutely cruising away from home inside the first 10 minutes. The red card massively changes the game, and even at 4-3 up going into added time, we still came away from the game with absolutely nothing. A great spirited performance, but that challenge from Smallwood and the unnecessity amount of it, I don't even know what the right terminology is. I'm still so bewildered by his decision to make such a reckless challenge on the halfway line when Swindon are going absolutely nowhere. So still a lot of frustration coming away from that game. We also had a 2-0 win at home to Crewe Alexandra. Bobby Poynton scoring our fastest ever EFL goal inside 11 seconds, and Callum Kavanagh wrapping up the game at 5 minutes from time was enough to make it, I think at the time, 12 home wins from our last 13 home matches. We also had a very disappointing 2-0 defeat away at Port Vale. First half we were absolutely miles off it, terrible in this game. Port Vale were better than us all over the park. No one really apart from Richie Smallwood turned up in that first half. Second half was a bit more even, but Port Vale didn't really need to come out, didn't really need to attack us. Obviously we missed a penalty late on in the second half as well, but we were never going to score from open play in a month for Sundays. And we also had a very frustrating 0-0 draw away to Accrington Stanley, where we didn't even register a shot on target. And I think in their following 3 matches they conceded 11 goals, 4 against Fleetwood, 4 against another team, and then 3 against Tranmere as well. So really disappointing. Again, when we look back to only picking up 1 point from Gillingham, Tranmere and Accrington, that really could come back to bite us on the backside come the end of the campaign. Compared though to Chesterfield FC, they're currently sat 3 points off of the playoffs, and I don't know if I'd rather Chesterfield of like what they are now, still in with a chance and a really good chance of making it into that top 7, or be around mid-table with nothing to play for. Because when you're in mid-table, it can either go two ways. When you haven't got anything to play for, you can either go on a really good run and you're looking to build momentum going into next season, playing for contracts, all that sort of stuff, or you can go the opposite way where you're on the beach, you don't really care. With Chesterfield still having something to play for, it does put a little bit of pressure on them, especially being the home team with only 3 games to go. They really need to come out and try win the match. We obviously need the 3 points as well, because it'll be, if we win this game, I will be really confident we will be a League 1 club next season. If we don't, then it could be the playoffs for us, all depending on the Walsall result. But the Spy Rights do currently sit 9th in the League 2 table. After 43 matches, they've got 17 wins, 12 draws and 14 defeats, scoring 65 goals, which I think is the second most, or maybe third most in the entire division behind Walsall and Swindon. But they have also conceded a 50. It leaves them on a positive 15 goal difference and 63 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a draw, a win, a draw, a loss and a win, so pretty decent form for them. 8 points picked up out of their last possible 15 available. They maybe need to probably win 2 and draw 1 of their final 3, maybe even win their final 3 to make it into that top 7 depending on other results. But recently they did have a 0-0 draw away at AFC Wimbledon. Wimbledon clearly created more chances throughout the game despite Chesterfield having a lot more of the possession, but they failed to register a single shot on target. Going away to Wimbledon though and picking up a 0-0 draw is certainly not a bad result. They also had a 3-0 win at home to Chesterfield, pretty comfortable really in the second half. That header from Ash Palmer was a really good one in the second half. Ryan Colclough got a little bit of luck with his goal, but cut in very nicely and found the far corner. Chesterfield, as you can see, dominate a lot of possession, and Fleetwood, they're one of them weird teams where they either score none or they score 4 or 5. There's never really an in-between with the Cod Army at this moment in time. They also had a 1-1 draw at home to Gillingham. Certainly a very disappointing result, and definitely 2 points dropped. I know Gillingham have been pretty solid and resolute under Gareth Ainsworth, and it took a late Will Grigg equaliser in that game. Again, massively dominated possession, over 600 passes attempted in that game, and still they could only register the same amount of shots on target as the opposition, who only had 26% of the ball. They also had a 4-0 defeat away to Tranmere Rovers. Certainly not a result that I don't think many people saw. I think Chesterfield have picked up 16 points out of their previous 18 going into this game. Tranmere obviously just come off the back of a defeat, I think, against Harrogate, a relegation rival, and I don't think anybody would have predicted this result. Again, Chesterfield have dominated possession but haven't really created much that was a clear cut. Again, just the 2 shots on target. I'm sure they'll be very disappointed with the manner of that result. And finally, their 5th most recent match was a 2-1 win at home to Carlisle. How this game, in terms of the scoreline, finished so close, I will never know. Obviously, Elliot Embleton sent off just before half-time. You look at the stats, Chesterfield attempted over 700 passes, had over 80% of the possession, 38 shots, 15 on target. How this game didn't finish like 10-0, I don't think anyone will ever know. Before we do any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 100 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What is your score prediction for this match? What would your starting 11 be as well? Now, I would personally make a couple of changes for this game. I think in certain positions, certain players play better away from home than others, and obviously we don't know the severity of Kieran Kelly's injury, but I would assume with it just being a couple of days on, he missed 3 or 4 months of the season with that fractured ankle. It looked like he'd injured that same ankle on Thursday. There's no real point risking him for this game. Despite that being his best performance since returning to full fitness, I still wouldn't really risk him for a game like this, especially when we've got Doncaster away the following week. So in goal, I would stick with Sam Walker. Nothing that he can do about the David McGoldrick goal on Thursday. An absolutely brilliant strike, to be fair, from a player who's probably the best in the division. Speaking of very good players for this level, Amando Dobra and Ollie Banks are both big doubts for this game. I think Dobra's already been 100% ruled out for this match, so that's a big positive for Bradford City. But in terms of Sam Walker, like I mentioned, nothing he can really do about the goal, so I'd definitely keep him in between the sticks. In terms of my back 3 then, at right centre-back, I would bring in Callum Johnson. Wasn't on the bench on Thursday, which I thought was very strange in all honesty, but as okay as Neil Byrne is defensively, on the ball he massively limits us, and he just can't really pick a pass. When we're trying to build down that right hand side, he really does limit us, and when they've not really got a physical striker, whether it's Madden, Grigg, Peppel, none of them are known for their physicality. These are not 6'3", 6'4" giants that we're going to have to deal with, so I don't think we need to go as physical defensively. Let's go with a bit more mobility, so I would have Johnson in there. In the middle, I would go with Aidan Baldwin. Nice to see him back on the bench on Thursday. I don't want to see him in central midfield again. It's okay when you need to do it at home to Morecambe, for example, but when you're at home to Notts County, you got absolutely torn apart, and he was all over the place in midfield. Certainly looked much more comfortable in the middle of that back 3, and I think the proof is in the pudding that he has been one of our best centre-halves so far this campaign, so I'd definitely bring him back in and start him in the middle. And at left centre-back, completing my defence, I would go with Jack Shepherd. I thought he had a pretty good game on Tuesday, dealt with the threat of Alassana Jatta very well, putting a number of very good tackles and blocks. It was nice to see Shepherd finally get back to his best, because it's been a while since we've seen him play up to that standard. I do think recently his performance level has dipped a bit. Obviously, I think he bounced back very well after that own goal and the way the Swindon players celebrated around him on Saturday, and hopefully he can help us keep another clean sheet. In terms of my midfield 4, at right wing back, I would stick with Brad Halliday. At times I thought was pretty solid against Notts County, to be fair. Obviously I had to deal with the threat of Nick Cerula, a man who tore him apart last season. I do think at times in the first half he struggled with that threat. Second half, I thought he dealt with Jody Jones very well, didn't really give him a kick all game, and he just ended up turning into being a little bit of a whining baby, in all honesty. But Halliday for me, definitely should be starting. In terms of my two holding midfielders, at first I would go with Brandon Kayla. I thought he was certainly our man of the match on Thursday. I know he's got a bit of criticism for allowing McGoldrick to come inside so easily, but it's David McGoldrick at the end of the day. It's not just as easy as don't let him come inside, because McGoldrick will work that space. Whether you show him one way or the other, he's always going to come back. It's about then trying to block the shot, and obviously McGoldrick worked it very well. Unbelievable strike, and he just does what he does David McGoldrick. But Kayla, for me, absolutely outstanding. I thought he dealt with George Abbott very well throughout the match. Won the ball back off him on a number of occasions, won a lot of the duels up against him. I thought he had a really, really good game, so I'd definitely keep him in this team alongside Alex Patterson, who would remain as the captain for this game. Now on Thursday, don't think it was his best performance, wasn't really in the game all too much, in the odd time he was on the ball. He was a bit sloppy in possession, so hopefully he can get back to his best in this one. Feels like it's been a little while since his last goal, so maybe he can come up with another one in this game, because it's really important now that other players start stepping up to the plate. We need more goals in this team, so hopefully Park can come up with another one in this one. And as my left wing back, I would go with Teo Adaramola. Now I was a little bit concerned when I saw both teams starting 11s on Thursday, and I saw he would be man-marking Jody Jones. I think defensively he hasn't been amazing so far throughout his time at Bradford City. But what I would say is I thought he dealt with that threat very well. Him and Kelly, I thought, did really well against Jody Jones in the first half, made them switch over in the second half. Offensively, I can't really remember much that he did throughout the game, but defensively I certainly thought it was probably his best performance in a Bradford City shirt, so I would definitely keep him in the side for this game. In terms of my two at number 10s then, firstly I would go with Anthony Sarcevic. When he was on for 65, 67 minutes, something like that on Thursday, I thought he had a really, really good game. Obviously, as you would expect, he's not going to be fully match fit to be able to play the full 90 minutes then and then go again on Monday, so it did make sense as bringing him off. Again though, I just didn't really like the substitution. In terms of bringing Aidan Baldwin on, I don't understand why in the last couple of matches Alexander's gone away from attack is the best form of defence, and now we're just trying to defend and protect what we've got. It hasn't worked in the last two games, so hopefully that was just a little bit of a bug going round, and hopefully we'll get rid of that, because it should have just gone like for like, bring a Walker on, bring a Lapsley on, and yes, it's a wonder goal, and maybe not necessarily down to Baldwin, why we did concede, but we looked disjointed when we go more defensive. Just play players in their natural positions. Sars, for me, if he's fit, he's available. One of the best players in this entire division, so definitely has to start. And on the other side, I would stick with Bobby Poynton. Now, I would definitely say it was probably his worst performance of the season, maybe arguably worst performance in a Bradford City shirt, and you all know how much of a big fan that I have been of Poynton this season. I thought last season he got away with a few iffy performances at times because he's a Bradford City fan. This season though, I think he's been absolutely outstanding, and certainly one of the first names on the team sheet for me. He's always going to have iffy games or games where he's not quite at the races because of how young that he is. I think the fact that he's still been able to perform as one of the best young players in the entire division this season is a big credit to him, and I think if we do go up to League One, he'll be another shining star for us again next season, so hopefully he can bounce back from the disappointments of Thursday. One bad performance doesn't make him a bad player. As my striker, I would bring in Michael Mellon. I thought Mellon did more in 15 minutes than Kavanagh did in the first 75 on Thursday. If we're just going to hoof the ball long, then there's no point Callum Kavanagh being there, because he can't hold the ball up. That's not his game. He's a poacher. He'll press. Michael Mellon, though, much better at holding the ball, a bit more physical, much better hold up play and all that sort of stuff, so he definitely has to start for me away from home. If we're going to go more direct, we're going to go longer. They've got a couple of big physical centre halves. I don't see any reason why you would start Kavanagh away from home. Yes, he's got a hat-trick in the last away game, but in terms of holding the ball up and all that sort of stuff, Mellon is much better at doing that, so just play your best players. Kavanagh's better at home, Mellon's better away, so just do that please, Graham. On the bench then for me, that would leave Joe Hilton, Neil Byrne, Romney Critchlow, who should hopefully be back from his illness, George Lapsley, Jamie Walker, Tommy Lee, and Callum Kavanagh. The players currently unavailable are Kieran Kelly, potentially with that ankle problem, Lewis Richards, Richie Smallwood, who is obviously serving the second of his 3-game ban, Andy Cook, and the players who miss out then through selection will be Colin Doyle, Jay Ben, Paul Huntington, Tyreek Wright, Clark Adore, and Harry Ibbotson. So there is my team. In terms of a score prediction, maybe I'm going with a bit of blind hope, a bit of optimism. I'm going to go Chesterfield 1, Bradford City 2, the same score that it was in the reverse fixture, where obviously they went 1-0 up and we managed to turn it round. Sarcevic scoring his first Bradford City goal. A win here though would be absolutely massive. Win here, and that is pretty much League One football secured, because the Doncaster result, if we can get something out of that, it would be nice, but all we've then got to do is beat Fleetwood, and that should make us a League One football club. The title would be a nice bonus, but win this game, focus on this one. There's more than enough quality in this squad to go and beat a very good Chesterfield side. There's a lot of quality in their team, we can't underestimate them, but Bradford City, please, for once in your life, do not let me down. Go and get the 3 points on Monday.